Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I actually have a special video here planned today. I have been thinking about this one for a while now. My friend Molly and I are actually going to work on the same topic here, but we have two different approaches to this. What I want to talk about today is deflection and narcissism. And how I want to start this out is I want to show how the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses uses deflection and why that is a narcissistic trait. So let me show you first what deflection is defined by the Watchtower Society first, and then we're going to go to the definition. And now this is the first time that I'm using this program to actually share my screen. Every other video I've made has been on my phone, so I get to actually do a couple other little things here that are cool and that I look forward to. So let's get started here. Let's look at the Watchtower Online Library, and in the February 15th, 1969, this is about the only reference I could find on deflection from the online library, especially for the context that I'm trying to use it in here. So first of all, here they give the definition of deflection. It says it means a deviation, a bending, or turning aside from a true course. So that's pretty straightforward. I don't have any issue with that definition. Now let's go into this source here I found from the learningmind.com and ask the question, what is psychological deflection and how might it be blocking your growth? Well, I'm not worried about the blocking your growth aspect of it, just psychological deflection, okay? Where is it here? Okay, right here. Deflection, by definition, is a method of changing the course of an object. So if we go back to here, to there, it's a deviation, a bending, or turning aside from a course. So that definition is actually very good. So, and then an emotion or thought from its original source. So it is a method of changing course of an object, an emotion, or thought from its original source. So basically think of, and I'm in construction, so think of it as a piece of wood that's straight, okay? And then it's bent to go in a different direction. So now it's not hitting the target that it was set for. So that's basically what deflection is. And then notice here what it says. It says, nevertheless, psychological deflection is not only a narcissistic tool, but also a coping mechanism strategy. Individuals who use it seek to mask their own impulses by denying their mistakes and projecting them on the people around them. Can you think of any examples where that has happened? I can think of one right off the top of my head. 1975. Remember how they had all the articles, especially the one in, I believe it was 68, where it says, why are you looking forward to 1975? Of course, you can't find it on the Watchtower Online Library because their Awake magazines only go back to, I think, 1970. So you can't look it up there. So that in itself is a deflection method. And just to prove it to you, here's the Watchtower Online Library. Go to Publications, and you go to Awake, and if you scroll down the years here, See, 1970. Now, if I just do a simple Google search, I can't type. They love 75 Jehovah's Witnesses. You can find it very easily. Oh, it's a video. I don't want the video. I'm trying to find the article real quick, but this will probably JW Facts thing. Right here, you can see some information on that 1975 teaching that they used to have. You got in November 68, the district overseer Duggan announced at the Pampa, Texas Assembly that not really a full 83 months remain. And then, of course, followed along by the Stay Alive Till 75 deal. And then here you have some other article references that you can't find on Watchtower Library. And here is exactly what I was looking for right here. Watchtower, 1968, August 15th. Why are you looking forward to 1975? So right there, that's a deflection, because they're not giving you the transparency of their literature from beyond 1970. And I'll prove why that's a problem here too, because if you go to the Watchtower on the online library and you look back, it goes back to 1950. Why can't you match the Watchtower with the Awake? And I say it that way because growing up, whenever we would be out in the ministry with the Watchtower and Awake magazine, you always had a matching date for an Awake magazine with the Watchtower. So you'd have the Watchtower and you'd have the Awake. You'd have the, the 1st and the 15th, or the 1st and the 8th, whatever it was. And you would literally be able to have a matching set. You can't even get a matching set back to 1950 on their online library. So anyways, back to the topic here with deflection here. And some points here I thought, was good, because this is also strategies they use. Someone is always guilty. It's a self-defense mechanism. So really you can see how these things are being played out. And we're going to get into, and later on in this video, a couple of examples of how the Watchtower Society uses this tool. And I'm going to show specifically a couple videos from the Australian Royal Commission that show how they use deflection. Now, it's not necessarily blaming people for their mistakes, but that is one of the tools that is used. So anyways, let's take a look at another article I found on Psych Central. And this was a blog on 5 ways narcissists project and attack you. And I'm going to go through these one by one here and just give you some general statements of how the Watchtower Society does this to people. First of all, number 1 here, calling you things that you are not. Okay? And here the article says, a classic example, you're cheating on me when you're not, but you can bet they're cheating on you. So that's, an abusive relationship. A spouse will say that to somebody or whatever. and put the blame on you by calling you those names. Now, the governing body has a way, or Watchtower Society has a way of doing that to people in general as well. For example, the word apostate. If you look up the definition to the word apostate, and I'm going to do that real quick over here just to put context to what I say. Apostate, and you look up the definition here, it says it's a person who renounces a religious or political belief or principle. That's pretty much it. Now, if you really think about it, anybody who converts from another religion to a Jehovah's Witness is an apostate. That organization is built on apostates. And yet they take that word and demonize it. Let's take a look at how they do that. Okay? And there are so many different things. And if you just look up the word apostate on the Watchtower library here, it really shows how they changed the definition and really shows how they are calling you things that you are not, according to this article. So let's go back here, and what was it I saw here? Right here. Quietly bringing in destructive sex. The false prophets or false teachers are the apostate wolves in sheep's clothing, who began to make their presence felt among early Christians even before the death of Jesus' apostles. Two of these messages reveal the existence of apostate sects that were hated by Christ, the head of the true Christian congregation. Okay? So right there, they're giving you a definition. Kind of fits, but doesn't completely fit. So no, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. And search. No, it didn't have. Okay. I'm getting used to this as well. There we go. This is one of the terms that they like to use for apostates too, calling them mentally diseased. And right here, this is exactly what I was looking for right here. This is the July 15th, 2011 Watchtower, page 15 to 19, paragraph 6. Right here. A good example. Well, apostates are mentally diseased and they seek to infect others with their disloyal teachings. So, again, going back to here, calling you things that you are not. How can you call somebody mentally diseased? You have no degrees in psychology or any kind of background, and yet you call people mentally diseased. Now, even psychologists aren't going to call people mentally diseased. They use a lot of other terms because, for one thing, they don't want to offend anybody. They don't want to hurt anybody's feelings because they care about them. They want to help them. That's their job. So, really, calling somebody mentally diseased is a derogatory term, and it's very hurtful to people. Now, as an ex-witness, I take pride in being called an apostate because I know what it means for me being a former member of that religion. And having woke up to the truth about it, I am now proud that I'm not part of that because of all the child sexual abuse cover-ups and false prophecies, and the list goes on, which I'm not here to get into. So let's go on to point number 2, grandiosity, mimicking, and exaggeration. Narcissists think that they are super, ultra, turbo, mega special, that they deserve exceptional treatment, or that they are justified in hurting others. How does the governing body do that? Well, for one thing, they've always stated how they are God's one and only source of information, that they're the ones that you come to, they're the ones that have the only truth, and the list goes on and on. I'm not going to go too much. I'm trying not to make this video super long. Preemptive strike. Well, again, it says right here, they will call you things that they themselves are as, or are afraid that others see them as. So, mentally diseased? Yeah, I mean, I see them as that. They call me that now, but I see them as that because of what they do to people. I judge that. And again, these videos are my personal opinion, backed by some research and facts that I can show you to the best of my abilities. But I would say they're mentally diseased, although I'm not a doctor. I can't make an official diagnosis. But for them to continue with how they treat their people, their members, they have some major issues that they need to resolve. But again, my opinion. Moving on, playing the victim. A common narcissistic strategy is to play the victim. You hurt me. Poor me. Instead of working through the issue with you or internally, they have no problem dragging others into it by lying and painting you as the perpetrator and themselves as the victim. Good example of this. And you hear this all the time in abusive relationships. You'll have somebody who is an abuser, and let's just say a child abuser. I hate to use an example of a child abuser, but it just fits too perfectly. That child abuser will literally tell the victim that it was their fault for what they did to that person. So I hurt you, but it was your fault that I hurt you. And why was it your fault? Well, you were wearing clothing that was revealing and it tempted me beyond what I could bear. Things like that. So that's a bunch of crap. It really is. That's a bunch of crap. And finally, the know you defense. And here it says, if you call them out on their crap, or if they suspect you can see through their smoke and mirrors, they will say that it's you or others who are all these things. And again, the governing body, the Watchtower Society, is so good at doing that to people. They will tell people, oh, well, you're getting ahead of God's chariot. And when really, we see through their crap. We see that they're the ones lying to us, and they're trying to say, oh no, it's our fault because we see through it. No, it's not our fault. So anyways, that is the 5 ways there that narcissists project and attack you. And all of this are ways of deflecting. Now let's go in and take a look at a couple of examples from the governing body. Well, not from the governing body, I'm sorry. From the Australian Royal Commission. The first one I'm going to show you is from Vincent Toole, and he was a lawyer in Australia. And then the second one is going to be from the governing body, from Jeffrey Jackson. So let's start off with this. I got to move my camera over here so I can play this for you.
Yes. You say all elders serving in congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses throughout the world have been directed to contact the legal department in the local branch as soon as they learn of an allegation involving child sexual abuse. So I might understand that the uniform process set out which applies throughout the world.
Subject to the fact, of course, that many branches mightn't have a legal department, but they would contact the branch there. But in Australia, we do have a legal department.
And that process, which is applicable throughout the world, that's determined by the governing body.
There's a general direction throughout the world, as I understand.
Yes, and it's a general direction throughout the world determined by the governing body.
Well, as far as I understand, it's a direction that elders have been given.
Yes, but Mr. Toole, you seem to be trying to avoid what I understand to be quite well accepted, which is that it's the governing body that determines that direction.
Did you hear that? He's trying to avoid the question. It's a very direct question he's being asked. Very direct. You might as well be asking the question, Mr. Toole, am I wearing a red tie with white stripes? Well, you know, that could, if I'm colorblind, that could look like a different color. And, you know, Mr. Toole, are you colorblind? Well, no, not technically, but so, Mr. Toole, am I wearing a red tie with white stripes? Well, it depends on what the lighting situation is and what time of day, and, you know, if you're standing on your head and blowing smoke through your ears, yeah, it's deflection. And that is a classic example. And this guy that he's interviewing, Mr. Toole, is a lawyer, or as they call him in Australia, a solicitor. So he knows legal terminology, he knows legal tactics, and yet he's still deflecting direct questions from one lawyer to another. Let's continue on.
That's what I understand, yes.
And that's typical, is it, of all Jehovah's Witnesses policies and procedures, that is, they're determined by the governing body and made applicable throughout the world.
This general policy would be determined by the governing body, but the application would be in the local setting, would depend on the branch committee applying it to the relevant things in their local area.
Well, yes, whether a policy is actually followed in practice is a separate question, but dealing with the setting of what the practice is supposed to be, that's set by the governing body.
That's what I understand.
Yeah. And coming to the question of responses to child sexual abuse allegations specifically, the Australia branch then follows the guidelines of the governing body, etc.
The guidelines, but they will apply it in any way that needs to be adjusted in the local area.
Well, let's just be clear on that. The particular application may vary from case to case, is that right?
Yes.
But that application is intended to be within the parameters of the policy or procedure itself, is that right?
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, so what you're seeing here, and just as I was watching this, I hadn't even thought about this until just now. I'm a parent. I've got 3 children. And when you ask a child a question and they know they're going to be in trouble for it, they do this exact same thing that this lawyer is doing. They try to avoid the question. They go round and round. And Mr. Stewart here, I still see up on the screen, he's just trying to keep them reined in. You know, it's just like, it's like trying to pull a bull in a straight line without him trying to get away from you. It ain't going to happen. And this is where, what I mean when I say this organization uses deflection. And I can't tell you how many times that I've seen it where you get a Watchtower article or you have a talk, and because the reasoning isn't sound, they have to give you a very roundabout answer to try to answer that one question. And then by the time you get to the end of that answer, you still don't have an answer to the question because they've just totally gone around it and forgotten about everything that they were doing, period. Feels kind of weird. I put the camera in front of the computer screen. I can't really see it too well. So anyways, let's go on to the second example I have for you here. And this is going to be governing body member Jeffrey Jackson, who is on the witness stand, again being questioned by Mr. Angus Stewart. And let's see how he responds.
And would you disagree then with anyone who said that the efforts to highlight and deal with child sexual abuse in the Jehovah's Witness Church is engaging in apostate lies?
I guess that's a broad question, because sometimes those who make these accusations make many other accusations as well. But let me assure you, the person making the accusation is not the main thing. The main thing is there some basis to the accusation? And if there is some way that we can improve, the governing body is always interested in seeing how we can refine our policies. You see, Mr. Stewart, could I just emphasize, as a religion, 2 very strong things we do. One is we try to keep a high moral standard, and secondly, there's love among the organisation. So we want to treat victims in a loving way.
Again, do you think that these are apostate lies? That's a yes or a no question. Yes, they're apostate lies. No, they're not apostate lies. It's all true. Pretty cut and dry to answer it like that. But you see what he did? He circled around. Then at the end, he gives you some fluff and puff and I don't see an answer there. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see an answer to Mr. Stewart's question. Let's continue. I guess not. That was the end of that clip. I thought there was more to that clip. I tried to search for the clips and keep them short, but I thought there was more to that one. Sorry. So anyways, back to what I was getting at for the whole point of this video was those are just a couple examples of how the governing body uses deflection and how this relates to being a narcissistic trait. And so what is the point of this video? Why am I concerned about that? I want to bring awareness to people. I want them to know that when it comes to, it can be relationships, abusive relationships, it could be religious, it could be political. Narcissists use these tactics the same all across the board. And if you can recognize these signs, you can protect yourself and you can use this information to protect others as well. And that's what I'm trying to present this information for. I want people to be able to protect themselves from these types of individuals, organizations, or political parties. I myself was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, growing up knowing nothing about this. Because they discourage education all across the board, the average Jehovah's Witness does not understand narcissism. And they grow up in a culture of questions being deflected. You go out in ministry preaching door to door, and people ask you a question. Well, generally in your Jehovah's Witness brain, you have a Bible verse for just about any question you can think of. Now, notice I said Bible verse. For example, a Bible verse, John 3:16. A lot of people know that scripture, okay? However, what they don't do is show you the context of what's around that verse. So they cherry pick what they want to tell you. And then they'll go to a different verse, and then they'll go to a different verse, and then they'll try to go to a Watchtower article or another one of their publications or whatever they might want to use from their JW sources. And that's why JW Library exists, so the witnesses can use their information to show you what they're trying to teach you. By the time they get back to your question, actually, I shouldn't even say that, because they don't get back to your question. They just totally ignore it, divert you, deflect you, and get you off onto another subject, and it makes you forget what your original question even was. So now you're kind of left with this thought that, oh, okay, they really did a good job explaining this. But when you take it into account, they really didn't answer your question. And what you saw in those videos with Jeffrey Jackson and Vincent Toole, exactly the same thing. By the time they got done answering, they didn't even talk about the question. And if like me, you've watched the entire Australian Royal Commission, you know that Mr. Stewart did a wonderful job reining them back in and, making them answer the questions. And that is one thing that they do not like. They do not like you making them answer your questions. And if you're Jehovah's Witness and you're waking up to the fact that your religion isn't the truth and you want to talk to your elders in your congregation, when you ask them questions, make sure they answer. If you want to do that. I'm not saying you need to go and talk to your elders, because you're going to get the same thing as what you just saw in those videos. What I'm saying is, if you do, make sure they answer your questions. Don't let them deflect you. Don't let them blame you because you have doubts. Don't let them call you names. Don't let them do anything to you that makes you feel uncomfortable, because that is exactly what they are playing at. So please take these things to heart. Please do your own research. You don't have to take my word for it. I showed you some articles. I showed you some videos. Yes. Yay me, right? Forget about that. Do your own research. Find out for yourself. Maybe what I'm hoping to accomplish here is I can give you a start and help you realize some of the things that can help you in the long run. But I'm going to end this here. That's all I have for you today. If you like this video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for when I do some more videos. I am planning on doing more videos. I actually, as a little update, I just did my biography video. Well, technically yesterday now. Where I'm at, it's 12:45 in the morning, and it is now September the 6th. But yesterday I did my biography video, and I brought up some letters that I wrote, and I'm actually going to be working on that more tonight. So be looking forward to that coming out soon. And then I'm also got some other videos planned for y'all coming up as well. So please subscribe, and thank you for watching and listening to me rant about this. And I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Bye.